and then hope I can find it. And so is it recording now? Are we sure? Somebody says yes. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Well, so welcome everybody. This is a story about something that started with a very small idea, and it blew up into this gigantic project. And what makes it even more interesting is that overall the cost of the project is mostly people putting in their time voluntarily, particularly from the Mexican side. So that's kind of where the story goes, and you'll see. First, though, I need to introduce to you Dr. Tatiana Lobato de Magalhães, and I tried to pronounce that properly. And I had a thing written down about her history, but it's in my bag and I don't want to go grab that. So you can do it yourself. Tell them a little bit, and you need to talk into this, about what you told me about all the things you did until you went to collaborate with me. So.
Okay, thank you, Marinos. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tatiana Lobato de Magalhães. I'm from Brazil, from southern Brazil, and I have graduated, start my undergrad in agronomic engineering in southern Brazil, then I moved to the Amazon, and I graduated like an agronomic engineer there, and moved again to São Paulo to work in a Constance private company that have projects, environmental projects around the country with vegetation studies for infrastructure projects, and much more with farmers, big farmers in North Brazil, in the Amazon specifically. And then I took my master in the mountains, southern Brazil, with wetlands 10 years ago when I started to work with wetlands. I am a wetland scientist like Marinos. And then I moved again to the Amazon when I working with the Nature Conservancy with environmental issues, particularly in Tapajós River. That's a big river that goes to the Amazon River. And it was in a project that the Nature Conservancy, that a globally project with big rivers. There are two rivers in this project that are in US, that's Colorado and Mississippi, and in Brazil have the Tapajós River. And then I did a PhD in Mexico, in the highlands close in Mexico City, in a city that's called Querétaro, in the Querétaro state. And I did a postdoc there in Mexico also, but in southern Mexico wetlands, mostly close to Pantanos de Centla in Tabasco. And currently I am a professor at Querétaro State University in wetland matters. And in this role, we started to collaborate in a project through the Fulbright that Marinos will talk a little bit more now.
Yeah, so, and I remember saying to Tatiana, or imagine what would have happened if we really hated each other. It would not have worked very well. But we didn't. And so this grew into this phenomenal project. So this is also to explain to my colleagues what I've been doing all this time and not been visible here. Because Tatiana managed to come up with all kinds of ideas that gave me an enormous amount of work, but that's great. To start with, I always put the acknowledgements up front because otherwise I forget. And particularly the Fulbright grant needs to be acknowledged, North Dakota State University, and particularly the department and also the College of Science and Math, who recently agreed to put some funding towards translation of, and I'm giving something away here, but translation of a documentary that's been made that came out of our project is one of the things. So I want to thank them very much for that. From the side of the university, Universidad Autónoma de Querétaro, WAC in short, there a whole suite of people became part of this project. And so we have to acknowledge them as well. And a few other Mexican institutions, as well as all colleagues, friends, students, family even. Okay, for those of you who are not familiar with the Fulbright projects or Fulbright programs, there is in fact a student program where students, Americans can go abroad, but also students from abroad can come here and work here for months, weeks, years. And so that's the student program. It has a separate website, which I showed there. Then there is the scholar program, which several of us know. I think Tim Greaves, our colleague, went to Germany on that kind of award. But what I only found out a few years ago is that there's also the Fulbright Specialist Award. And that is the one I went for, and interestingly enough was awarded. It was established in 2001 by the Department of State. And I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but it pairs highly qualified US academics. You have to be a citizen and professional with host institutions. Most important is that they have the knowledge, skills, and other attributes to significantly contribute to projects overseas. So when you apply, you have to, for instance, come up with references that can say, yeah, this guy can do that. But most of you don't know, already in 1999, I led an expedition to the Central Asian Republic of Kyrgyzstan, for instance, that became quite successful, and other things. And I went like, well, I do that. I've been collaborating in China and in Taiwan and several other places. So that is important. You have to be a citizen. I mentioned that. You must be able to travel overseas. So that makes sense, of course, for up to 42 days. It's a 4 to 5 year roster within which you can take on 2 projects. 5 years because of the pandemic. In this case, it was extended, normally 4 years. And so I have this project in Mexico, and I'm working on maybe going to Algeria if all goes well, but we'll see how that goes. There are about 400 awardees per year that get that, barring pandemics, of course. And if you wonder what are the areas, occasionally you get an email if you are awarded the Specialist Award, and it lists ongoing projects that they have highlighted that you might go to, or you could find somebody to work with that might be interested in developing a project. So I knew Tatiana through the Society of Wetland Scientists. She is the president of basically South and Central America in terms of members, international members. And I contacted her because I wanted to go south from here, either to South America, Central America, or Africa, to say, hey, do you know groups that I could work with? And she said, well, actually, and that's how that started. And then we started talking about it. And so this will just leave. So this is Mexico. And if you wonder where I go, you see Mexico City there. And if you highlight that area, you'll see a town called Santiago de Querétaro that is in the state of Querétaro that is there. So Mexico City is to the south here. And if you go to the northeast from that, and I need to move this out of the way a bit, you see there's Reserva de la Biosfera de Sierra Gorda. It is part of the Cordillera Occidentalis, and Sierra Gorda means fat mountains. Why they're fat, I don't know. They're beautiful mountains. They are known for a number of things. First of all, it's between 350 and 3,200 meters above sea level. That's 10,000 feet for most people here. It's semi-arid. It has a karst geology, which makes it really interesting. It has precipitation up to 2,000 millimeters per year during a wet season, and then there's the dry season. And here's some pictures of what it looks like. It is absolutely stunning. And so the idea was to do work on issues to do with water availability and water pollution, and everything that might come up with that. in communities that live up to over 10,000 feet high, where they may have problems of getting water, and down in the valleys where they get the water from up high there and are maybe really thinking about water in a very different way. So there are mountains, there are rivers, and I happen to be there at the tail end of the wet season, so it rained every day in this supposedly semi-arid region, and there was quite a bit of water in the rivers. There are also springs that come up, artesian wells that come up from the karstic geology. It is very rich in species. There are butterflies, birds, 342, including the military macaw, has its last colony in Mexico there. Reptiles and amphibians, 131 mats. They're saying you should go there. Fungi, 127. I think there are way more fungi, way more, but that is what they listed. Mammals, 110, fish, 27. And this is one of the things it looks like. And I'm going to pass it over here to Tatjana. We're going fairly quickly because in the end, we want to show you something quite special. But Tatjana is first going to talk about the expedition now and what we did there. So I'm passing it on to you.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, okay, go on.
Yeah, we did an 8-day expedition through the Serra Gorda, working with the communities and visiting different places in the high level and low level. And it's a kind of interesting place that there are a lot of diversity when you think about climate and about kind of vegetation, because you go from 300 altitude meters altitude from 3,000. That's a lot of variation between semi-desert vegetation from tropical forests and pine oak forests and the cloud forests also. This picture is we with a group in Patropalos that is on a highland community, and all of the activities that we do with people in this time, it was in open spaces because it was in the past year and really issues with COVID, and particularly to visit the communities, we try to do everything outside. And so because of it, you choose using different ways to communicate with people, like the pamphlets, because some of the communities don't have infrastructure to project it, and particularly in outside places, below trees or things like that. We created some pamphlets, and we start to explain the topics and share it with people to see. And it's a part of the topics that we working with the people, everything through water management and also wetlands. That's a kind of example of themes that we work. And also we had a lot of concern about language, particularly because the Fulbright specialist that are Marina's aunt doesn't speak Spanish, and the people in the community don't speak English. So we needed to do translations all the time. So we choose to work with the groups outside and with very small talks and the translation and the questions, and doing a more informal talk with the communities to make people feel comfortable to ask questions or do comments. And yeah, that is we in a small community also that Marinos with the pamphlets, the materials that you are all working on, and the people from the community showing it. And when we finish it's in workshop in a community, we bring you give all the materials, the didactical materials for the community. There are very small communities with 100 people living there, and they have a small school. So we approach to the professor in this school and give you the materials, and also not only the pamphlets, but boards and things that they could use in the schools. And because we are concerned about language and trying to give a good opportunity for people from the community, particularly children, to take a look in the material. Everything is bilingual in Spanish and English, so that it could be a kind of another opportunity to engage in more people interested in learning another languages, particularly because a great part of these communities, they have people working in US or people that travel frequently because they have part of the family in US and part in Mexico. But usually they don't have a good talking and writing in English. And yeah, we try to work in with questions and answers, doing a lot of translation with the community. We introduced the idea to drawings. Some people can write in this community. So because of it, in every workshop, we bring papers and ask people to do drawings about the water and the wetlands or giving messages, and we compilated it in, as information for a book that we are working on. Here, there are some people that they are drawing in one of the communities, and some example of the kind of information. And for me, the water is life. This is the message that this woman decided to share with us. And yeah, we also did a kind of questionnaires to get more information about what kind of issues each community are facing regarding water management and the water available. And here it's a master student from the WAC that was doing this questionnaires surveys with the local people. And also we did a lot of interviews that we call it interview, but it was much more kind of conversation. We filmed a documentary and the short films in a storytelling style, because we were interested in know what people from these communities and from the bigger towns in the Sierra Gorda Federal Biosphere Reserve thinking about the water issues and what kind of solutions they are using to solve the problems that they have with water, and what message they have for the future to take care about water in this region. So here we are filming lady in Cuatro Palos, and all of our team, the expedition team, hearing about her stories and learning from it. There are another person that was kind of interesting, that's Patti Corso. She works with forest restoration in this region because she's really, really concerned and a good leader in this region about water issues. And for her, the principal point is to recover deforested areas in the Halpin Mountains. And yeah, now it's another person from community, and Leticia, that she works with the communities for at least 10 years in this region. And it's a faculty member from the WAC, leaders in the region, because we did a mix of workshops for people from the communities, but also a lot of workshops and the talks with representatives from government and the civil society and academia in the region. And here we are in a river talking with people about the issues that they facing, interview people. And also at the WAC in Querétaro, not in the reserve, we participated in several radio and TV interviews, like me and Marinos and TV WAC TV, talking about the project and what it could be important for this region. And it was really nice that one day later this interview at the WAC TV, a person from Water Commission, the State Water Commission, calling us, and we needed to talk. And now we are trying to establish another project in Querétaro State with a wetland project that it was probably a 3 years project, and the idea and everything start from this interview. And yeah, and the workshop with leaders that I read. Now we are talking with several important people from academia and from government in the city. We just meeting in the rivers, in the spring, and the water system treatment places, and just to see how they are working in these places and what kind of issues they are facing there. And another talk inside the water system treatment, that it is not working really well. And in the park in front of the government building, because it's September, it's Mexican Independence Day. We have a lot of decoration in the public places with the Mexican flag colors. And another workshop with leaders at the WAC, but not the WAC in Santiago de Querétaro, in Jalpa de Sierra, that is in the Sierra Gorda also. And here we put together a lot of representatives from government and the civil society, particularly Guadalupe, that she is the federal person that is in coordinating all of the reserve. And it was really important to have her participation there and her commitments with water issues in the region. And also Marinos provided 4 lectures for WAC students in different topics, and also for the Mexican Society of Botany. And then we built in another workshop and another seminar for the Society of Wetland Scientists focused in Latin America and the Caribbean. And actually we are joint teaching. We are invited each other to exchange classes. I have a wetland course for undergrad in Mexico, and he has a wetland course here. And you are planning to opportunities for the students to exchange or having classes together or proposing projects to, within Mexican and American students to provide more cultural and the language and the experience that they can share. And yeah, and now I will. That's true, Marina.
Yeah, so Tatiana, yeah, I'll do that. That's fine. Tatiana has a particular a knack for getting people to do stuff, which is really cool. The interviews, I remember how that started. We were talking in the beginning about what shall we do, and I said, well, you know, from my experience in Taiwan, if you could get elders in the community to talk about what things were like when they were young, I've seen that work really well. But I thought, well, we'd have a get together with local people, communities, and then we get these people to talk. And Tatiana goes, well, we should record that. Yeah, of course we should record that. And then she goes back and she goes, well, actually, long story short, we have a whole film crew and they'll film it. And then it went, actually, we can put that into a documentary. And then there were people that came to help with editing and all that. It's just totally amazing. And
you have a 14,000 hour.
Well, 14 hours of film material, thousands and thousands. We got a photographer with thousands and thousands of pictures. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the challenges that we identified first, and then we'll show you some other things. So what are the problems we identified? So it was all to do with water availability, water quality, to get a sense of what do these different communities perceive as real problems. You have people living at 10,000 feet, 3,000 plus meters, and it hardly ever rains there. They live in fog, but it hardly ever rains there. There's a rainy season, most of their water falls below them. Their water disappears through springs and things like that. They need it also for cattle. So they built temporary basins called bordos for the cattle, but they dry up. And then the people down in the valley in a city like Jalpan de Serra, they have their water come out of a tap and they flush the toilet or it goes down the sink and it's gone and they don't think about it. So there are different perceptions of what is a problem with water. There's a similar difference in the United States. If you ask in the East Coast, when you talk about conservation of water, they talk about conservation of lakes and fish and stuff. If you go to the West Coast, they talk about keeping water, preserving it. Conservation has a different meaning in different places. So, capturing water. Hey, wait a minute. Oh, I went the wrong way. Erosion due to deforestation. We talked about that already. There's a group there that is very actively involved in reforestation of the area. So we'll talk about that. Pollution of water from springs immediately after emerging from the source. We saw a spring that comes up. It is stunningly beautiful, clean water. And right after it, there are cattle in it and drinking and pooping in the water. And so we had some ideas there. Pollution of streams and rivers is a huge issue. And treatment of domestic gray water is an issue, and treatment of urban wastewater. So there are quite a few problems. How to develop ecotourism was something that was also asked, and that we had some ideas for. Management of springs and watersheds. This is a karst region. So you have a spring come up, and the watershed could include the slopes on the other side of the mountain. And they don't know. Nobody maps the watersheds there. They have absolutely no idea. The water it could drain down on one side of the mountain and then go into cracks and then come out the other side of the mountain. You try and manage that. It is really difficult. So there were all kinds of problems. Here's one image: pollution of springs, streams, and rivers. Beautiful picture. There is water coming down, it's very clear. But if we would literally look to our left side, you would see this. Right next to it is a pig slaughtering facility, probably not even legal, and the waste from it goes straight into that clean stream, like 100 yards from where it emerges from the mountain. And like I said, you ask them, like, whose facility is that? And they said, well, maybe you don't want to know. This is Mexico. So really problematic issues. This is the river of Poo, and the people in the Sierra Gorda, and there might be people online, were upset that I put that in this presentation because they said that is not the Sierra Gorda. No, it is not. This is actually the river that goes through Querétaro, the Querétaro River. It smells like a sewer. It's mostly not human excrement. It is mostly cattle poop from feedlot facilities that are right on the river. And this is not an exception. I've been told that in Mexico City, there are streams that are even worse. And if in Jopan de Serra, they don't do anything, their river will look like this in 10 years' time. So we had some harsh words there as well. So what solutions did we propose? Well, you have to come to the ECS seminar for that, because there isn't enough time for us to actually talk about all the things we did there. So the the ECS seminar on Thursday at 12:30 is going to be about that. But what I can talk to you about is a few outcomes to give you again an idea of the scale of this project. And again, WAC, the university, had its own project already, kind of. The only other funding that we really got was my travel and some stipend, a per diem that I got, and that is everything. Everything else was done out of good faith, people putting in time, and a little bit of money here and there. First of all, so what we have now is an MOU between WAC and NDSU, specifically relating to Tatiana and me collaborating, teaching, maybe collaborating in research as well. That's one thing. That's huge for us. That's the president, they're called the rector of the university we met with, and I'm wearing the same shirt there. I thought in honor of that, I'll do that. We had survey data, still do that. I don't know if it's all analyzed. We're writing a book. We're doing so many things, but we're writing a book. There's the book. That is the draft of the cover. It's going to be designed by proper designers at WAC. A 1-hour documentary. We call it Water Talks or Water Talks. It depends on where you put the emphasis. Either the Water Talks or people talk about water. That is a really good translation. In Spanish, it's percepciones, about water anyway, but it's percepciones. We call it Water Talks in the English translation. And again, I know Dean Kimberly Wallen is online listening. Thank you. She provided $800 towards the translation of the documentary. So that is now happening. We just need to figure out how to get $800 legally from NDSU to WAC in Mexico. But you know, we'll figure that out. But the translation has started. There's the movie Sobre el Agua. I couldn't come up with the word, but Percepciones sobre el Agua. Then we have now suddenly a half-hour-long exhibition in WAC. And then I'm going to talk about having it shown here. I want it in the Fargo Theater, the documentary. And I want an exhibition somewhere here at NDSU or whatever. We'll figure it out. But it's just growing and growing. And then we have 5 short videos. So, of course, I want to show you one, which I'm going to do. There's also a water forum. And I'll refer to that later on after the video briefly. But one of the things that happened out of this, why would a guy from the Netherlands who is now living in the United States and had never before gone to Mexico, what would I be able to tell people in Mexico about the problems they have? It's ludicrous. They know perfectly well what kind of problems they have. And that question came up. And I said, look around you. I said, I want to bet. So here were leaders from all these communities and from federal and state and city levels, all sitting together in something that we could not call a workshop, because then under COVID rules, it was not allowed. So we called it something else and we still did it. And they were all sitting there together. I said, you guys, I'm going to bet, have never sat together in one room and talked about these problems. And I said, if that is what I have done, and if that is what it takes, then so be it. And they had to agree. So that was a good outcome. Oh yeah, and then we're hoping to have annual conferences in Jalpan, if only because I want to go back every year, right? So we have a video, and I hope this runs. So this is one of the 5 short videos that we have put together. It's based on those interviews that started with the idea of storytelling. The sounds will be shared, I think. It's from the computer. It should be. We'll see. I think it will. Let's see.
Curiosamente, este pueblo en aquellos tiempos se llamó Lanja, voz chichimeca que significa lugar cenagoso. ¿Y qué es un lugar cenagoso? Un lugar cenagoso es un lugar donde hay lodo, lo que significa que aquí hubo, oigan bien, hubo mucha agua. Y resulta que ya hace muchos tiempos que hay muy poquita. E inclusive el agua potable que llega aquí a las buenas partes del municipio de Landa proviene del municipio de Pinal de Amoles. Antes de eso, el agua aquí a la comunidad se surtía a 1 kilómetro hacia la parte sur de aquí de donde estamos ubicados. Está un lugar que se llama Las Pilas y de ahí era de donde se proveía la comunidad de ese vital líquido y un agua, no exagero, pero creo que más pura que la que nos venden purificada.
Niño, mi necesidad era el agua, o nuestra necesidad, la necesidad de todos, muy bien. íbamos a traer agua de los manantiales que hay en el fondo del cerro, hasta abajo, hasta muy abajo, en un lugar que le llamamos el Chorrito. Ese se llama la comunidad, digo el lugar. Entonces allí nos concentrábamos cuando no había agua aquí, que caminábamos 2 horas para llegar al manantial. Y de allá para acá era un poquito más, porque es subida. No era bajada, sino bajada era al ir y de allá para acá era subir. Mi mamá llevaba su ropa a lavar, pero duraba un día para ir y regresar al manantial. Y ahorita, gracias a Dios, pues tenemos un poquito más de agüita.
Aquí en la comunidad tenemos 3 líneas de agua y pues nos dan el agua cada 3 semanas. Y en tiempo de sequía, pues antes de las cisternas sí era muy difícil pues que todos tuviéramos agua todo el tiempo. Entonces se venía aquí a sacar agua del pozo cuando ya no era suficiente el agua y la acarreaban. A mí, de hecho, ya no me tocó esa cuestión, pero en nuestro preescolar, como no había cisterna, sí teníamos que venir por el agua, entonces veníamos y hasta aquí cerca del preescolar llevábamos el agua y de esta manera pues nos ayudábamos a que hubiera un poquito menos de necesidad de agua y pues se trata de limpiar el agua, de mantenerla limpia, de que se use solo lo necesario, solo para consumo humano. No la utilizamos para los animales porque no es mucha el agua que hay en el pozo.
Mi papá es de la sierra, creció en una comunidad llamada La Hierbabuena, que es del municipio de Jalpan, y desde chico nos traía para acá. Él, obviamente, al crecer entre la naturaleza, pues nos inculcó y nos traía a los bosques, a los ríos, y podemos tener buenos recuerdos de esos lugares. Y digo recuerdos porque muchos ríos que acostumbrábamos ir a acampar, pues ya no es lo mismo. Ahora yo no tengo ese privilegio de enseñarles a mis hijos pues lo que mi padre me llevó a conocer. Y en el caso específico, en el lugar de donde estamos, Río Verdito, pues recuerdo que mi papá hasta en una ocasión nos enseñó a pescar a cociles, que son unos camaroncitos de río, y nos enseñó cómo pues, pescarlos. Y es triste ver que ahora, pues la verdad, ya no existen estos animalitos, tan solo por mencionar unos, en este río. También recuerdo que nos llevaba a acampar a ríos como el Santa Clara, al Moctezumas, al Tancuilín, y veíamos una inmensidad de fauna y flora que tal vez en esos momentos no lo apreciábamos, no lo valorábamos de esa manera, porque para nosotros era algo normal verlos. Y ahora que llevo a mis hijos y no vemos nada de esto, pues es triste porque pues así mismo yo creo que le pasó a mi padre cuando mi abuelo lo traía, y que poco a poco nos vamos acostumbrando a algo que no está bien. O sea, no vemos cosas que nuestros padres vivieron, y pues es triste que las nuevas generaciones pues ni siquiera tengan el sentido de haberlas conocido, mucho menos de la importancia que deben de tener para cuidarlas.
En la época de noviembre nos empiezan a llegar unas aves, creo que son pelícanos, grandotes, llegan aquí. El año pasado realmente no los vimos, pero cuando estaba con toda la libertad en la laguna, ellos llegaban y aquí duraban mucho tiempo, se iban creo que a principios de enero. Y pues culebras sí hemos visto, de hecho en estos días pues hemos visto cómo llegan o cómo salen. hay como que una temporada me imagino que en el proceso de lo que es la ranita, porque hay como mucho huevecillo y se nos llena todo hacia acá de ranitas y sapitos y todo.
Se llama Tancama, tenemos una presa. Esta presa se llena por medio de las como cañadas, le llamamos aquí en la región, de que por uniones de los cerros baja el agua y llega ahí y se llena. Ahorita, pues yo creo que desde que yo he sido pequeña, desde que se llenaba el agua en temporada de lluvia, pues íbamos a nadar. Ahorita tenía ya como algunos 8 años que esta presa no se llenaba por cuestiones de la seca y todo esto. Hace un año exactamente, más o menos, como 1 año y medio, se llenó la presa. Y nosotros, pues como es costumbre, siempre vamos pues a ver cómo se está llenando la presa. Incluso cuando está lloviendo, asistimos a este lugar a ver cómo está llenándose. La presa está como atrás de mi casa. Y esta vez que se llenó, tuvo como un impacto diferente en nosotros, porque a simple vista se notaba que el agua no venía limpia como toda la vida la hemos recibido.
Let me see. There we go. No. Oh, now it disappeared. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. Well, I wanted to show you the last slide, but if you wonder where, no, how do I do this? Help. Where's that?
Saludos amigos, bienvenidos a
salud,
Acelerando
amigos, go
Pymes.
away.
A partir del capítulo
Where
de
are
hoy vamos a darle ya un giro completamente radical a la
No.
temática que veníamos trayendo.
Stop.
Desde este momento nos vamos a adentrar
Go
al
away.
interior
That
de las
doesn't work
organizaciones y vamos a empezar a tocar tópicos pertinentes a la industria,
Hello, hello.
tanto manufacturera como de servicios.
Hola.
El tema que hoy vamos a tratar es uno bien particular.
I don't know how to
Vamos a
stop
tratar el
this.
tema de los costos y de los gastos. ¿Por qué empiezo por este tema? Porque es absolutamente
What is this?
primordial y básico entender que aunque de pronto en el manejo habitual los manejamos
my audio.
con diferencia, es decir, sin hacer ninguna claridad sobre lo uno, el manejo de la
Explorer?
empresa sí tiene que haber una
You do it.
diferencia específica para cada uno de los conceptos. Es decir, cada uno de ellos tiene una conceptualidad bien distinta al
Explorer.
momento de
Go to that one.
meterlos o integrarlos a nuestros presupuestos.
No.
Ya vemos que conceptualmente no es fácil entender la diferencia entre
She
costos
did
y
it.
gastos. Estos dos conceptos, aunque ambos significan
Shut
erogaciones, tienen una naturaleza y una connotación bien distinta.
Matt,
Hoy,
help.
a lo
Where is
largo
it?
del capítulo, vamos a tratar de hacer
Come
claridad
save us,
sobre
Matt.
los dos y veremos.
Can you close the browser?
¿Cuál es el propósito el día de hoy? Establecer ese criterio claro entre costo y gasto para contribuirles a ustedes efectivamente.
Yeah, which one is it? Oh, you got it. Oh, geez. Thank you, Matt. I'm in hell. So one question you must have is, how did we get those people to be interviewed? We got what, 28? And beforehand, we couldn't do it. We couldn't say, well, you know, there's these communities, we're going to ask them because everything was up in the air. So what we really did was we would stand there and have our workshops, and she and I would go like, that person there, we'll interview that one. And the first one you heard, he happened to walk by. We were in this this tent with, you know, with the September festival flags, that picture. And we were meeting there with local leaders, and he happened to walk by and go like, what you doing? and then we ended up interviewing him. And he turned out to be a very eloquent speaker and had some great ideas. That's how that happened.
Yeah, and particularly in the communities that you choose to work on are communities that have been working for more than 1 decade. So Leticia, that is one of the persons that we put in one of the pictures there I pointed. She have been working with outreach projects with water to catch up water from the roofs. To people have water all the year, because the dry season can be 4 or 5 months. And besides there are a lot of raining in the wet season. People don't have water in this place. So we have a good, WAC have a really good relationship with this community. So it's much easier to arrive in a month in a fast expedition and get participate from different people there. They could be feel confident to participate and give your opinion.
So again, I have to say kudos to Tatiana, because, you know, I just got money from Fulbright to go there. She got all those contacts. And I left the credits up of the video, if only to show you how many people became involved in this and communities. I mean, we reached out in the end to, several hundreds of people in the different communities, probably close on 1,000. And we got all those, like the editors and the audio visual people and all that, and TV walk, all involved, and radio, and just amazing. These clips, we started the translation because basically we got the transcript, and Tatiana and I worked on the translation and said, this is what you need to put under it. But for the documentary, we get more professional translation. And again, Dean Wallen, really, we're really grateful because now we can actually pay him a little bit. That is really the end of what we have here. I told you this already. The one thing that you cannot do before leaving from Mexico is not go to Lucha Libre. You need to go to Lucha Libre, which we did, and it is amazing. And I was going to wear a mask today, a Lucha Libre mask, and then I forgot to bring it because they're quite scary. And it's really very cool. This is a picture I took from a guy just, jumping. Lucha Libre is derived from the American wrestling. It moved to Mexico in the 30s. I just happened to hear something recently on NPR about that. But it's way more acrobatic. It is all choreographed, it's all fake, and it's all really cool. And you sit there and drink a beer and just cheer them on. It's just amazing. So, open for questions now.
I have a question.
Yeah, right.
One person mentioned Acocelis crayfish, and I just wonder about if it's I see that it occurs in Mexico. It's endemic to Mexico, but is it protected? And are there other protected species that either historically or still occur within the drainage basin?
I don't know. Do you know? The Acocelis is protected?
Yes, it's protected and now very endangered species in this region. You can find just few populations there, but like 10, 20 years ago, we have much more individuals of this species there. And also this region, there are ajolotes. That's how called ajolotes? A salamander. Axolotl. Yeah, axolotl. That it's becoming really, really endangered because just grow up in cold and really clean water. So that becoming much more restricted for the springs than the being in the entire river.
I think, and I talk with my students about this quite a lot. The real scary thing is that there are many, many stories around the world like these, where somebody says, when I was a kid, I saw these salamanders or these fish, and now they're not. You're talking one person's lifetime. That is absolutely scary. Anybody who thinks that we're not doing a lot of damage to this environment have to have their head examined. It is just insane. Ask your parents, they all caught bigger fish. They all swam in cleaner water, all of them. And it's everywhere in the world, some places worse than others. So this is not unique to the Sierra Gorda, but they do survive a lot. Sorry, yes, who is that?
I just wondered if there are any laws that protect wetlands or water quality or endangered species, and if they can be applied, and if they are applied in other parts of Mexico, if those can be applied
I'll
here.
leave that to Tatiana to answer.
Yeah, regarding wetland protection, it's really hard that there are no specific law for inland wetlands. There are law for mangroves and coastal wetlands in Mexico. That's a federal norma. But there are a lot of laws that you can correlate it with water and springs, but not specifically about the inland wetlands. And that is a big issue in this region, particularly because it's a biosphere reserve with a lot of endemic species, and really special about the biodiversity that you can find a piece of a great part of it, North and Southern Mexico biodiversity in that place, and many of them related with the water. But another issue with the wetlands there, that a great part of the wetlands are temporary wetlands, because there are a large time from the dry season, and many of it was lost, and the people recently currently don't have an idea that they had many wetlands there in the past. And because of it, in the interviews and for the documentary, we are particularly interested in know about the past remembers that people could have about the rivers or springs that they go to swim in the past and they can't do it because it's polluted or don't exist anymore or things like that. And yeah, great part of the documentary is focused and show the remembers like this guy told about the Acocilias that, oh, my father bring me that place and I can't offer it for my children now because we don't have much more of the biodiversity that you have in 20 years, 30 years ago.
Yeah. And I'm not that old, but I have those stories too. I remember catching eel in a stream that they're no longer there. That is really scary. Every one of us has those stories. So. Other questions from the audience, or yes, go ahead and I'll repeat your question, otherwise they don't hear it. Yeah. Right. So the question is, what are the next steps for this project and maybe many others? First of all, overdoing this, other projects are popping up in Mexico, which is really really great. Not just that, the guy that did most of the filming, Chris, now got a job as an anchor for TV and things like that. So that is cool too. For this particular project, first of all, we have offered some solutions, some that are simple, some that are not so simple. And for that, you need to come to the ECS seminar on Thursday. But there are some things that can easily be done. For example, the gray water treatment for the communities. They had already done that. And they had small concrete basins and they would have the gray water go through that. There were basically constructed wetlands is what they're called. So you build the basin, you put wetland plants in there, the water goes through it, it comes out clean. So clean that often you can drink it. So I remember asking one of the participants there, said, okay, we had this already, why did you stop? Did they not work? And her answer was, oh, they worked fine, we just didn't maintain them. They go like, okay, well, that's an easy solution. There are others that are less easy. Maybe the best outcome really is what I said earlier, is that we got people to talk together and not just 2 or 3. I mean, you're talking about 100 in a room that suddenly we're talking with each other. And a person that is a director at a federal organization, CONAMP, she's the director for the Sierra Gorda Bioreserve. She offered to organize a conference next year in the fall. Now, we need to push her to actually do that, and it's Mexico, so some things work a bit better than others, but we are hopeful that there will be annual meetings of all these stakeholders. I don't like the term stakeholders, but all the people that have an interest in water issues to come together and have a more permanent platform that will get together regularly and talk about, okay, we had these issues, what did we do about it, what worked, what didn't work, and then, yeah, we hopefully can do something there. If they don't, I mean, the axolotl will disappear. That is just very simple. The water will become of worse and worse quality. Mexico is projected to become hotter and drier, and so the water will disappear. This means those small communities will disappear. Something has to be done, and people recognize it, but they never talked with each other. So I think that's the most positive outcome.
Yeah, and because the project is much more focused in water, but you try to introduce wetland concepts and the importance for the communities. I think that could be a great message for the people that were directly involved in the project, because they had no good concern about the wetlands. And now when you return and talk with these people, everyone wants to know more about the wetlands, and you get the pamphlets from today's schools and you can reproduce this material for more schools in this region. So in terms of a concern about wetlands, that could be a good start for this region. And it was really nice because when I approved the project like a host institution to host marinas at the WAC, at first I had no money to run the project. And so I started to apply the project to get financial, and I tried several avenues, and I was very lucky to get a fund from the WAC. That's fund for spread knowledge with communities or something like that. That's FUNDEC. And I, at the same time, 1 week later, I got fund from the state, the State Council in Science and Technology. So, what I will do, because now I have double money that I needed to run the project. So I decided to not return money, of course not. I decided to do a book about the project, because when we went to the communities and they run workshops, it was 1 day workshop per community. It's just few time to learn about the water management and wetlands. So I thought that we will have a printed book to give for the community for free, and I get money to do it through the editorial work. Yeah, that's because now we finished the book, and it's in review process. And the idea, we write it first in English and then translate to Spanish. And we want to have a digital ebook in Spanish and English, but the printed one only in Spanish to give for people from communities, from the schools, and there are 3 campuses, WAC campus in the Sierra Gorda, that's more rural campus, and also for people from government, because it's much more practical book. It's a technical practical book, but with a lot of how to do to solve problems that they have. And we used all of the materials that you get in the Sierra Gorda. In this expedition, we have a person specifically to take pictures, the photographer expedition that is undergraduate student in anthropology, and you have around 4,000 pictures from this expedition. And the Christian, that is a faculty member, that he went only to do the videos, cameraman for the expedition. He take all of the images from the documentary and short films, and you have around 14,000 hours, 14, yeah. Yeah. I don't know, wait. Yeah, 14 hours. Yeah. We get a lot of work to edit the videos, to take only the most interesting parts for it. But yeah, so in the book we used only pictures that you took during the expedition. So it's really nice for the people from the communities now take the videos and the book and look, oh, I am here, or people that I know, my friend or my relative is in the book, that could make a sense of honor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of the. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that I think that the book and the wetland awareness and the book could be a great part of the next step, because we are planning to return it to the community in November or December, maybe, to give people the book, and leaving, I think, 2 projects, the video, the documentary, for them see then, and the people from the other communities talking.
Yeah, and so other things we did, I got paid by Fulbright. $200 a day is pretty good. So I'm paying all that back to the community there. I pay taxes over it, so bar the taxes. But I donated some of that to their audiovisual department, so they can buy a GoPro because they have older stuff and things like that. And so that's how we build it up. We get, there are NGOs involved, and you name it. So yeah, sorry, yeah.
More point. Yeah. Yes, and also it's interesting because this question, many people from the communities and from the government asked us, what do you want with this project? And it was really hard to explain that it's only 4 weeks project. Marinos visit the WACA during 4 weeks. And for this time, I think we did a lot and they have a lot of good outputs. And one of them is the agreement, the MOU between North Dakota MOU, between North Dakota State University and the WAC, that it's an idea to start new ideas, but of course they are not in this project. That's from this point, we needed to propose a new projects because the Fulbright Specialist project is just a 1 month project. And
yeah, and I've already been back. So finally, and then we'll wrap it up. The documentary is being translated to English. It's premiered in Spanish on February 4th, which is why I went back for 2 weeks there and did a few other things. But and I'm adamant it's going to be shown here. I don't want it shown here. I want it in the Century Theater and I want it in the Fargo Theater. And I'm also talking to people in what is the Environmental Rights Festival, which is now in the Fargo Theater as well. Probably not this year because it's in a few weeks, but the following year. So all that is yet to come. We are going to Herds and Horns. If you want a drink, I'll buy you one. So you can come along. And you can talk more with Tatiana. And like I said, the next part 2, the cliffhanger, right, is Thursday at 12:30 if you're interested, through ECS. And I forget which room it is. Craig, are you still there? Which room is it?
It's in Badlands.
The Badlands. There you go. He's still there. So 12:30 next week. And then finally, this same place, same time, seminar in the department next week is Tatiana talking about her research. And then she flies home. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you in Herds and Horns. Any questions, email.